they checked, and then they checked again, and then, because they still couldn't believe what they were seeing, they came back a third time, 3 times. Not once, not twice, 3 times they went looking for a crack in you, for some flaw in your story, for some proof that were not as real as you seemed. And every single time, all they found was more of the truth, more of who you actually are. And that truth, your truth, was undeniable, was solid, so completely unshakable that something in them broke. Not you, them. That's where we are studying today. Because most people don't realize what it means when someone keeps coming back to check on you. They think it's surveillance. They think it's obsession. But here is what it actually is. It's the slow, terrifying realization that they were wrong about you from the very beginning. And they don't know how to handle that. So keep watching. Because by the end of this, you are going to understand exactly what happened, why it happened, and why the fact that they are on their knees right now is the most inevitable thing in the world. Let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like in real life. Because I want you to feel this, not just hear it. It's like someone walking into a gallery and seeing a painting covered by this old dusty cloth. They glance at it, they assume it's nothing. Maybe they even say something dismissive under their breath, but something makes them stop. Some pull in their chest they can't explain. So they lift the corner of the cloth, just a corner, and they see this glimmer of gold underneath. And they think, okay, that's probably a fluke. That's probably just a trick of the light. So they walk away, but they can't stop thinking about it. They cannot stop thinking about it. They go home, they lie there in the dark, and that glimmer is still there in the back of their mind. So they come back. Second time, they pull the cloth back halfway, and what they see underneath stops them cold. This intricate, layered, devastating work of art that clearly took years, decades, a whole lifetime of depth and intention to create. Now they are starting to panic a little because this changes the story they told themselves about you. But they are not ready to accept it yet. So they try to convince themselves there must be something wrong with it. There must be a flaw somewhere. So they come back a third time. And this time they rip the whole cloth off. And there it is. All of it. You. In full. Undeniable. So real and so powerful that they cannot stop, look away, can't dismiss it, can't pretend they never saw it. And that is the moment they went from standing over you to dropping to their knees in front of you. They came looking for dirt, but they struck gold. Here is the thing about people who go out of their way to check on you, to verify you, to dig into your story. They were never doing it out of curiosity. They were doing it out of fear, because somewhere deep down, they already sensed that you were more than what they told themselves you were. Secure people don't obsess over other people's lives. Focused people don't spend time picking through somewhere else's truth, looking for holes. The only people who check 3 times are the ones who are terrified of what they are going to find. And what they find and what they found was you, exactly as you are, with nothing fake, nothing borrowed, nothing performed, just you, authentic to the bone. And in a world where almost everyone is running some version of a script, someone who is genuinely, completely, uncomfortably real, that is terrifying to people who build their whole identity on surface. They checked 3 times because they couldn't believe someone could be this authentic in a fake world. They kept looking for that performance, and all they found was the person. You probably didn't even know the first check happened. You were just living your life, moving forward, doing the work quietly without announcing it, without turning it into a performance. That's actually the part that set everything in motion. Not some dramatic confrontation, not some public moment where you stood up and declared yourself. Just the steady, consistent reality of who you are, day after day, choice after choice. And they watched, they noted it, they felt it away. And it unsettled them in a way they couldn't shake. Because you were not trying to impress anyone and somehow that was more impressive than anything they'd ever seen. You were not performing confidence, and somehow that made you more confident than anyone in the room. You were not fighting for attention, and somehow every room you walked into, the energy shifted. That's not something you can fake, and they knew it, even when they didn't want to admit it. The second check. That's when things got real for them, because by that point, they had already invested some narrative about you. Maybe they told people something, maybe they committed to a version of you that made you smaller, easier to dismiss, easier to explain away. And then reality showed up and contradicted all of it. The dissonance was unbearable. So they had to go back and look again. Not because they were genuinely curious, but because they were trying to find the thing that would let them keep the story they told themselves. They went back looking for the exception that proved the rule. And instead, they found more evidence that the rule was wrong from the start. That's a specific kind of uncomfortable that most people don't know how to sit with. So they did the only thing left to do. They came back a third time, fully committed now, with their full attention, completely certain that this time they'd find the crack. And instead, they found the masterpiece. There is a psychological truth that most people spend their whole lives trying to avoid. When someone comes after you, when someone tries to discredit you or outmaneuver you or quietly make you smaller, it's never really about you. It's about them feeling behind. People who are winning don't watch. People who feel solid in who they are don't go digging. The fact that they kept coming back is the clearest possible admission that you had something they couldn't access, and they knew it. Think about it like this. You don't try to steal from someone who has nothing. You don't obsess over someone who doesn't matter. Their attention, their checking, their obsession was the most honest thing they ever did, because it told the truth they would never say out loud. You were ahead of them the whole time, even when they thought they had the upper hand, even in the silence, even when nothing on the surface had changed yet. You were already ahead. Yeah. They tried to count you out. And what they forgot is that you cannot count out something that was never in their game to begin with. And here is what that constant checking did to them, that they never anticipated. It consumed them. Consumed. Every time they came back to look at you, they were not building their own life. Every hour they spent analyzing your moves, they were losing ground in their own story. Jealousy is like that. Yeah, jealousy. It narrows your version down to this tiny tunnel focused entirely on someone else. And while you are locked in that tunnel, your own foundation is cracking and you are not even watching it happen. They thought they were gathering intelligence. They were actually dismantling themselves. They kept drinking from this cup of bitterness, thinking it would eventually hurt you. And the whole time it was only working on them. It's like someone trying to drown a river by throwing their weight into it. The river doesn't even register it. The river just keeps going. And they kept sinking. Here is the part that should really settle something in you. What they aimed at you didn't stick. It couldn't. Because you were not avoiding them. You were outgrowing them. Every move they made to pull you back only accelerated the distance between where they were stuck and where you were going. They thought the gap was closing. The whole time it was widening. You were racing, they were racing you. You were not racing them. That's the part they never understood and probably still don't. You were never in competition with them in the first place, actually. You were just moving forward on your own path, in your own rhythm, building something real. And they were watching you from their own lane, completely still, burning energy on obsession, while you burned energy on progress, your own progress. One of those two things compounds over time into something extraordinary. The other one compounds into exhaustion and resentment, and the specific hollow feeling of realizing you spent years watching someone else rise instead of building your own rise. That's what they are living with right now, while you have been staking real things, real growth, real depth, real clarity. They have been staking regret. The moment you stopped reacting, the whole game changed. I want to say this, not because you strategize it that way, but because when you are genuinely aligned with who you are, there is nothing to react to. Their noise didn't land because you were not living on the surface where noise operates. Their attempts to get a response from you felt like shouting at the ocean. The ocean doesn't hear it. The ocean just does what the ocean does. And your calm, which they read as unawareness, which they dismissed it as passivity, that calm was the most powerful thing in the room. Because calm like that only comes from one place. It comes from knowing exactly who you are and being so rooted in that knowing that nothing external has the power to shake it. They mistook your silence for weakness. What they were actually seeing was certainty. Your silence was the loudest response they ever received. They were waiting for you to defend yourself, to argue, to flinch. And the silence just kept coming. And every day that silence held, it said more than any words ever could have. And certainty outlasts every kind of noise there is. And then one day they stepped back and looked at the full picture of what had been happening. The trust that had slipped through their fingers without them noticing, the opportunities that had quietly closed, the people who had stopped fully believing what they said about you, the stories that no longer lined up, the credibility that was just gone, and they couldn't point to anything dramatic. They couldn't point to you doing anything. You just kept existing as yourself, and the truth did the rest. Time always does the math. Every shortcut they took had a cost they deferred. Every deferred cost showed up eventually with interest. Every half-truth they told had a weight to it. And eventually, that weight got heavy enough that people could feel it. You didn't need to expose them. You didn't need to explain anything. The truth is its own prosecutor, and it's patient. It is patient. It will wait as long as it needs to. And then it will show up exactly when it's most impossible to ignore. The very person they tried to bury turned out to be the seed they couldn't stop from growing. They piled everything they had on top of you, and all they did was give you soil. That's the moment they surrounded. Not loudly, not in some dramatic scene. It rarely looks like that in real time. It looked like a change in how they carried themselves around you, a shift in the energy. The ones who used to dismiss you getting quieter, the ones who used to be certain how now seeming uncertain, the ones who acted like they had all the answers, suddenly not looking so sure. That's what surrender looks like. Not a flag being waved, but a confidence that just quietly deflates when it runs out of something real to stand on. They have been humbled by the very light they tried to extinguish. And it's not something you did to them. That's something truth did. You were just the one carrying it. And you are still standing, still moving, still exactly as real as you were on that first day, on the second day, on the third day they checked. Nothing about you changed. That's the whole point. That's the reason this happened the way it happened. You didn't come for them. You didn't craft a counter move. You didn't even really respond. You just kept being yourself with such unrelenting consistency that reality eventually had to catch up with the truth of who you are. I'm too emotional today. They tried to come looking for the dirt, and they struck gold. Not because you set it up that way, because that's just what was always there. You were the gold the whole time, and now they know it, and they can't unknown it. And that changes everything. The tables have turned, and now they are looking for a seat at the table you built. The one they tried to keep you away from, the one they said you didn't belong at. And here's the beautiful, quiet irony of that. You prepared it anyway. While they were busy watching, you were building. And now the building is done. Yeah, you were not built for the fight they were trying to have you with. With you. You were built for something different, something longer, something quieter, something that doesn't need a crowd to witness it to be real. Your power was never loud. It was never about domination or proving anything or winning any particular moment. It was about depth, authenticity, the specific kind of groundedness that makes people feel something in their chest when they are around you. Something they can't quite name, but also can't pretend they don't feel. That's not something that cracks under pressure. That's something that gets clearer under pressure, like gold in fire, like masterpiece with the cloth finally completely off. You didn't just survive what they put you through. You became the flame. The thing they tried to extinguish became the exact thing that lit the whole room. And now everyone can see it, including them. They checked 3 times, and every time you were exactly who you are. And that truth, your truth, was too real, too solid, too undeniable to fight. So they stopped fighting, and the only thing left to do was surrender to it, to you, to the reality of who you actually are. Your energy is no longer a theory to them. It's a reality they can't argue with, can't dismiss, can't unsee. And here is what I want you to take with you. Don't slow down to watch them kneel. Don't look back to verify the surrender. You were never walking toward them. You were always walking toward yourself. And that path doesn't require you to stop and take inventory of who finally figured it out. Just keep going, keep being exactly this real. Because the truth you carry, that unstoppable, unfakeable 3 times verified truth, that is the thing no one can take from you, and no one can outrun. Not now, not ever. And remember that.